I'm here to mourn a tree. Loss comes in many different shapes and forms in our lives, and where this tree once stood behind me now sits a clearing in which it lies. And oof, I'm telling you, this tree was gorgeous. One of the most incredible ones I've ever encountered. You should have seen it. It was this ancient western red cedar with a buttressed trunk holding strong into the soils of past lives, its stem twisting slightly as it reached for the sky, where it transformed energy from the sun into sugars that it used to grow, with the surplus of that energy flowing down to the fungi connected at its roots, which once supplied it with the resources it needed to grow as a sapling in the understory, but now supply its offsprings and others within the community. Its original leader had died some years ago. Cambium snapped in the cold winter storms, but that didn't stop it from thriving. Its highest branches curved upwards towards the sky, reiterating to form a complex crown, granting nobility to this incredible life form, this culmination of billions of years of evolution, a testament to the resilience of life and desire of this species' ancestors to find new ways to exist and thrive on a changing planet. Upon those upper branches, a rich medley of other life forms found home. Mosses gathered in nooks and crevices, lichen clung to its fibrous, salt and sun-bleached bark, and a myriad of insects, fungi, bacteria, and more found home amongst those tiny elevated forests amongst this forest. Over time, their cousins moved in with them, bushes of salal and huckleberry who grew steadily in the canopy of this tree, providing berries and food to the offspring of the birds who had once brought them up as seeds to this haven, so that their children can carry their seeds off to similar faraway luxury real estate. And up there in that canopy grew another family member, one that was much larger, one that we might call a tree. By some miracle of existence, the light bouncy cones of a western hemlock had landed there, hundreds of feet in the air, where it began its life, gradually growing a single long root that curved down the trunk of that cedar like a thick woody python to reach the soils below. Pulling water from the same soils as the cedar that it lived on, this hemlock thrived and grew in the canopy of its host tree for decades. This western red cedar wasn't just a tree, it was so much more. It was a home, it was a parent, it was a sibling, it was a friend to everything in this forest community. Like all of us, it was a complex, interconnected being on this earth, and yet it was taken at an earlier time when no one, not even itself, had expected. One of those 100-year storms that seems to occur every other year these days, fueled by the shifting conditions of a changing climate at the hands of a much more foolish creature than this tree. What stood for hundreds and even thousands of years as a prominent feature within this forest community fell in a matter of seconds, by natural causes, one might say, and while it's better than by the saw, it begs to question the nature of anything natural in such an anthropogenically altered world. In this modern world, we're raised with unrealistic expectations of fairy tale endings and happily ever after, and then when the inevitable change occurs, such as the loss of a tree older than our comprehension who now lies in fragments on the forest floor, or anything else in our lives that tree could signify, our attachment to the way that things were and the way that we thought they would always be just leaves us shattered in just as many pieces. But there are no such things as happy endings, because endings don't exist. Where one story ends is just a chapter in another's book as life continues on. You know, this tree had been around for hundreds of years, and though I visited it frequently over the past 10, I never expected its final day to have been so soon, you know? I suppose there was a little part of me wishfully thinking that it would outlive me, just like it outlived so many other humans in its lifetime, so that I, selfishly, wouldn't have to face its loss, you know, not thinking that if the situation had been reversed, it would have been facing mine. But where its life ends marks only a sad chapter in my story, one that I have the luxury of referring back to in memory, in photographs, and in life lessons that tree taught me as it stood. And even now that it's fallen, it presents yet another opportunity to learn, you know, lessons of the impermanence of things, of regeneration and rebirth, and of new beginnings, as this gap in the canopy and the decomposing nutrients gives opportunity for the next generation, the next chapter of life, to rise and rebuild from the same chemical compounds of what once was. And just like that tree, I know that when my life story comes to an end, it will be just a chapter in all the others whose lives I'm in. Soul and spirit gone off to some faraway place which we'll never know, while the physical elements remain to be redistributed so that others can rebuild and go on living. Recognizing the impermanence of life and the fleeting nature of the present moment adds a certain kind of intangible, ephemeral beauty to it all, a certain kind of majesty that can be captured and glorified in memory, sure, yet will never be as rich or vibrant as it was in the present moment, or as the present moment is right now. See, both memories of the past and ideas of the future only exist in the now, which is all that we ever really have. And in that special intersection of all these various elements is where connection is created, where appreciation felt and gratitude exists, which then gives rise to love, the most powerful of all, which we pour back back into that connection, that thing, that place, to create more of those intersectional moments for as long as we possibly can, until something changes and we can no longer. Grief is a funny way of processing that abundance of love that develops for others. Love for something that can no longer be poured into that something. Love that lingers beyond the passing of a chapter in our lives. And yet that grief, that heartache and memory of moments in the past that came to an end too soon, serves as a reminder for us to not let go of the good things we've experienced, while also finding a way to enjoy, or at least accept, the changes that inevitably come our way. To find joy in those moments of intersection that present themselves to us every day, to continue to love and live as much as we possibly can while we can, because one day, each one of our stories will come to an end, and yet everyone else's story will continue on, our passing marking only a chapter in theirs, with the love created in our time carried forward in memory and grief. So cherish the time you get with all those in your life as much as you possibly can, because nothing lasts forever. Change is the only constant in life, and at the end of all of it, love in the present moment is all we really ever have. So enjoy it.